Welcome back, everyone, to the Bears Proper Plays live show here on our YouTube channel. Joining me, as always, we have Trey Trends and Seth Stacks, and our guest picker this week is Noah. We've been talking back and forth about him setting up a Discord maybe for our channel. He's got a really big following Discord channel. We had to get linked up with him to talk about maybe setting us up a Discord. But Noah, if you would just say a little bit about yourself and about your Discord channel, we will get some info about you here real quick. So go ahead.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me. So my Discord is Dropout Degens. It's basically me and a few of other guys. We were already in a Discord, and we decided to start this other one, just to have something like for ourselves, you know. Mm-hmm. But we also, we send, tons of picks, MLB, NFL, NBA, NHL, all that sort of stuff. But we started it, I want to say in February or March, one of those months.
Yep.
And I think it's at about 650 members right now, and we're growing. We get about 20 a day. So it's really kicked off the past couple of weeks. And we actually just got a partnership with Thrive Fantasy. We just announced that yesterday. So yeah, that's really about it.
Cool stuff. Very cool stuff there. We're going to drop that your link to your Discord below in the comments, and then we're also going to do that for our recordings later on for our plays for Saturday. But let's get into these picks really quick. Go ahead, Trey.
Say, Noah, you got to let the people know what your promo code is, dude. Come on now.
Oh yeah.
That fantasy promo code?
Yeah, promo code Dropouts. So DROPOUTS, one word. And if you deposit anything up to $250, it'll be a 100% deposit match.
All right, we will make sure to put that in the description as well. But yeah, very cool stuff. We're happy to have you here, and we're happy that you're going to give us some winners here. We are currently undefeated in the parlay lock. What we talked about, you got a lot of pressure on you today. Let's get into these picks really quick, guys. We're going to start with Penn State versus Illinois. Penn State is minus 14.5. The over/under is 48.5. Trey, I'm going to start with you.
All right, and guys, I really do think this game's going to be an absolute blowout. Give me here. I'm going to take Penn State, but I'm also going to buy a full point. I'm going to take them at minus 13.5 in this game. It is pretty juiced. It is minus 128, so I don't hate that amount of juice, to be honest with you. And something about this, and James Franklin, we trust. He had our backs last week. If you guys were watching the Penn State game, with only 10 seconds left, they were up by a bit, and they were supposed to kneel out, but they threw a touchdown pass with 10 seconds left, and that made Penn State cover. So James Franklin has our backs going forward until he does not. And Penn State, they've just shown no weaknesses through this season. And Illinois, they lost to a KU team last week. So that's all I need to know. Penn State here, minus 13.5.
Yeah, Trey, you said exactly what I'm going to say. I'm going to buy the point here, minus 13.5 for Penn State. I don't think you're going to need the extra point because Penn State should wallop Illinois in this game. But just to be safe, get the point. We saw Illinois play twice already, Toledo and against Kansas. I do think both those teams are better than what people think. But Illinois still does not look good this season. This will be their toughest test of the season by far. And I think Penn State is one of those teams that might be flirting with a playoff bid later on in the year. Penn State is also a very good team defensively, and they have a quarterback now that can move the ball in offense. The Fighting Illini struggled against that Kansas defense for a full half. So I don't think there are any concerns here for Illinois moving the ball on them. Also, like Trey said, Penn State has shown that they do not care if people know that they're wanting to cover the spread. They continue their offense against Western Virginia with time expiring up big to cover the spread. So I do love Penn State here, minus 13.5. Noah, what is your play for this game?
Yeah, so for this game, I'm also going to agree with you guys. I'm going to go with Penn State minus 13.5. But if Illinois wants to keep this game close, they're going to have to establish the run game early. They have struggled in the first two games, and they started to get it going a little bit against Kansas, but it was just too late. They had to end up throwing the ball. But they're going to have to rush early, and they're going to have to be efficient, and they're going to have to use the clock to their advantage and waste time so Penn State doesn't get the ball. But honestly, I just don't see that happening. Penn State's proven they can score with ease while also stopping teams. They've outscored opponents so far this season 101-22. And realistically, Illinois should be 0-2. They lost on a last-second field goal to Toledo, and they lost to Kansas last week. I think I said they lost, but they won on a last-second field goal to Toledo.
Right.
But I just don't see the Illinois offense doing much in this game. So I'm going with Penn State minus 13.5.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Seth, we going for the sweep?
No, I'm gonna go. I'm just joking. I'm not going against you guys on that one. It is going to be a full sweep for Penn State. I'm just going to be okay with minus 14.5 in this one, though. KU's offense shredded Illinois' defense last week, and the defense was supposed to be what was supposed to be the strong suit for Illinois. Their offense was the big question mark. And like all of you said, their offense struggled against a KU team that is not good on the defensive side of the ball. That KU team allowed some yards to a Missouri State team. So Illinois should have fared a lot better than they did in that game, but KU shredded them on the offensive side of the ball. Their defense played really well against them, and they're going to get a much tougher opponent in Penn State in this one. Penn State's only allowing 224 yards per game. So I do think Penn State should win this one fairly easy, as they are ranked in the top 15 as well, and I guess total yards per game Penn State's offenses. So just go ahead and take Penn State minus 14.5 on this one.
All right, we are clean sweeping Penn State for the first game. Let's move on to LSU versus Mississippi State. LSU is minus 9.5. The over/under is set at 54.5. I'm going to go first for this game. It's going to be the first SEC game for these teams, and I think they're both going to be ready to come out and fight for it. I had all my notes written up for Mississippi State plus 10.5, buying the point, but I'm going to change to LSU minus 9.5 and erase all my notes. After looking at Will Rogers, he doesn't scramble. LSU up front, they're very good up front on the front four. He's not going to be able to run. He's going to take a lot of sacks in this game. Mississippi State wide receivers won't be able to get open. I think LSU takes this game pretty easily after doing more research. So all my notes don't matter. I'm taking LSU minus 9.5 as my play. Noah, who do you got here?
Yeah, so I'm going to have to disagree with you with this one. I'm going with Mississippi State plus 9.5. I think they have a good chance to cover the spread. LSU struggled to put up points against the Florida State offense or against the Florida State defense. But then they turned around and put up 72 versus Grambling. But that's honestly kind of expected when an SEC caliber team plays a team like Grambling. This game, it'll be another test for LSU, like the Florida State game. But Mississippi State has a solid defense, especially early in the game, only giving up 7 points in the first half of the overtime win versus Arizona. And since the passing of Mike Leach, head coach Zach Arnett, he's gone away from the pass-heavy schemes, and he's averaged 221.5 rushing yards in the 2 wins so far this season. Mississippi State is going to look to control this game by the run, and I can see them doing it against an LSU defense that struggled against Florida State. I see Mississippi State keeping it close, and honestly, if all the stars align, I could possibly see an upset in this game too.
Whoa, okay. All right, we are 1-1 so far. Trey, who do you got?
Well, my notes do matter, and I am going to be fading Bear. Bear, you should have just stuck with your pick because I do think it is the right pick because I am just copying your pick. I'm just going to be taking the alternate spread here. I'm going to buy a full point. I'm going to take Mississippi State plus 10.5. It is minus 132. I still think that's the right amount of juice for this play. And yes, I faded LSU in week 1, and it cashed for us. Florida State ended up winning that game straight up. And I'm going to be buying a full point, like I said. And I think Mississippi State does have a great chance to win this game. Like Noah said, Mississippi State has looked really good, and LSU did not look overly good in week 1 and looked good in week 2. But like Noah also said, it was against very subpar competition. And with this being a home game for Mississippi State, it makes me love this pick even more. But the reason why I do love the Bulldogs in this game is because of their rush defense. Noah said their defense is elite, and their rush defense is because LSU, they average 208 running yards per game, but the Bulldogs, they only allow 87. So rubber's going to meet the road in this game, and I think the defense is going to win. Give me Mississippi State plus 10.5 and a little sprinkle on the money line.
Yeah, do I regret changing my pick? Kind of, but you got to listen to your gut. I feel like, and I think LSU is the right place. Seth, am I going to be a lone dog here? Or are you going to go LSU here?
You are not going to be in a lone dog. I am going to buy a point, but I'm going to buy it towards LSU, and I'm going to take a minus 7.5 in this game. Like you guys said, it was Grambling that they put the offensive numbers up against last week, but sometimes you just need games like that to get your offense running. I think that game definitely did get their offense running. The Tigers are averaging 540.5 offensive yards per game, and they have 13 offensive touchdowns. You guys have been talking how elite Mississippi State's defense is, but they had a lot of trouble slowing down Arizona last week, whose offense is not near as good as LSU. They allowed 17 second half points. They will not be able to do this if they want to even get close to covering the spread against LSU. I think that game against Grambling last week kind of woke LSU up, and I think they still want to show people that this is a top 10 team in college football. So I'm going to take LSU minus 7.5 on this alternate spread.
All right, we're splitting 2-2. That should be a fun game to watch, but let's move on. This is also going to be a really good game to watch. Kansas State versus Missouri. Kansas State minus 3.5. The over/under is 47.5. Trey, you are the Kansas State fan. Who do you have here?
Yeah, as we all know, I'm a huge EMA fan. Every man a Wildcat. Let's go K-State. And this line is scaring me a lot because there's no reason why this line should be this close. Minus 3.5 for K-State's favor. K-State, they've looked absolutely amazing through both of their games. In Missouri, they've looked good too, but if you look at who they've played, it's been very, very bad teams. So it's kind of expected, especially since they're in the SEC. But K-State, they faced a lot better competition. So give me K-State here minus 3.5. We all saw that coming. It's really expensive to buy it, and it's really expensive to buy the full point to get it to minus 2.5, which scares me even more. But at the end of the day, my heart wants what it wants, and that's K-State, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, sure, I agree with you. I think Kansas State outclasses Missouri in every aspect. Tension's going to be high in this game, though. I think that Missouri can keep this game close in the first half, and then Kansas State runs away with it in the third and the fourth quarter. The Wildcats have scored 40-plus in both of their games so far. The offense is cooking, moving the ball however they want. Missouri is coming in after struggling against Middle Tennessee, who they should have killed, but they barely escaped them. The Wildcats have the better quarterback in Will Howard. You can ask Trey, but I think he's the real deal for that team. The other Tigers also typically like to run the ball, and that's going to be a problem if they want to do that against the Wildcats. That front four is amazing. They have a great defense altogether. They're a pretty damn good team. Kansas State has a better quarterback. They have the better skill guys, and they have the better defense. The line, like Trey said, it's confusing, honestly. It makes me want to take Missouri here as a sharp play, but I do think this is going to be a close game early, and then Kansas State should win this by 2 touchdowns late. Kansas State minus 3.5 as my play. Noah, who do you have here?
Yeah, so I'm agreeing honestly with both of y'all. So Kansas State's been playing pretty good so far this season. They put up over 42 points in both of their games. Granted, those 2 games were against Southeastern Missouri and Troy, but I don't see them slowing down against Missouri. They've thrown for over 300 yards per game and rushed for over 180 yards a game. And while Missouri has played pretty well defensively so far, they gave up some big plays against Middle Tennessee and only won by 4 when they were 3 touchdown favorites against Middle Tennessee. Missouri's pass game has been subpar with quarterback Brady Cook going 14 of 19 and only 204 yards versus Middle Tennessee. And they found success running the ball, but Kansas State has also had success against the run, holding SEMO to only 0.2 yards per rush and Troy to 2.5 yards per rush. So like Bear said, I think that it'll be a sweat in the first half, but ultimately I think Kansas State's going to pull away with it in the second.
I like it. 3-0 so far. Seth, we sweeping?
Yeah, we're sweeping the board. This line is just too good. Like minus 3.5 against a Missouri team that has not played well at all. I did bring some trends for us though, just so we can go through those. K-State has covered their spread in both of their games this season, whereas Mizzou has failed to cover the spread in both their games this season. Under current head coach Chris Kleinman, K-State is 33-15 against the spread. Mizzou under Eli Drinkovitz, is that his name? It's a very, very weird last name. They are 15-21 against the spread. Like I said, I was surprised that this even came out at minus 3.5. K-State's very good again, or when they're going to cover the spread. I'm also kind of dug through there a little bit, and I found a K-State first half winner at minus 160, which I really liked because I think K-State's not going to have any issues in this game. Like you guys were saying, Missouri has not been good on offense. Against Middle Tennessee, they only had 334 total yards on offense. That's not going to cut it against this K-State defense, which ranks 21st in overall team defense. They're only allowing 256.5 yards per game, while their offense is going for 492.5 yards per game. I don't think this is going to be that good of a game at all. I think K-State's going to run out of it or run away with this one.
Yeah, and like we all just said, minus 3.5. It's kind of a weird number. I'd almost wish it was 7.5. I'd feel more confident with Kansas State, but we did sweep Kansas State all on minus 3.5. Let's get into the last game on the slate: Tennessee versus Florida. Tennessee minus 6.5. The over under is 58.5. Seth, I'll hear from you first.
Yeah, guys. I think everybody's looking Tennessee. Everybody's looking Tennessee. I'm kind of leaning towards Florida in this one at plus 6.5. I'm even kind of almost swaying myself to the money line for Florida. I don't know if I can do it. I want to do it, but I'm almost swaying myself to it. Both of these teams have been very good on the ground. Florida has a 2-headed monster, and Florida had 3 guys go over 70 rushing yards last week. I know it wasn't against a great team, but they still controlled that on the ground. But the big thing for me is Florida's defense will keep this game close. this Florida's defense is really, really good. They're going to keep it close. My biggest thing with this, for Florida to get over the hump, Graham Mertz is going to have to not turn the ball over. And it worries me a little bit, Graham Mertz. That's why I don't think I can take the money line. I like the spread just because the Florida defense. So I'm just going to go with the spread at +6.5 here. I just can't do the money line. Sorry.
All right. Gators +6.5. Trey, who do you have?
Yeah, and I thought I was going to be called crazy for this pick, but give me Florida State. But give me Florida +6.5. I wanted to buy a full point to get that touchdown edge, but it's just so expensive. So I'll just stick at a 6.5 here. And like Seth said, I feel like there is a true outside shot for Florida to win this game straight up. It's a home game for them. It's a night game. That place is going to be absolutely rocking. And last season, this game was really close. Tennessee only won at 38-33, and that was with Hendon Hooker at quarterback. Joe Milton, it's his first season. I don't think he's nearly as good as Hendon Hooker, at least at the moment. And all week, it has seemed like Billy Napier's having his boys buzzing. He's saying, guys, this is a true rivalry game. You guys got to get up and going for it. And Graham Mertz, he had his press conference, and he was backing that up, saying that he's having his boys buzzing and that they're going to be ready to play this game. And I think that Florida's going to show up to play. It's a home game. It's a night game, like I said. Give me Florida +6.5 in this game versus Tennessee.
All right, 2 on Florida. Noah, who do you have?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the under 58 in this game. There's no doubt that both these teams have talent, but for Tennessee to win this game, they're going to need to be doing what they've been doing best this season, and that's going to be running the ball. 2 weeks in, Tennessee leads the SEC in rushing yards per game with 257.5. But Florida's run defense is stopping opponents at an average of 151 yards per game. When it comes to Florida, they're going to need quarterback Graham Mertz to continue to be efficient and do what he's been doing. He's posting a 74% completion rate after 2 games and 526 passing yards. This paired with the versatility of backs Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne, they're both averaging about 6 yards per carry. And honestly, this game kind of screams upset to me. But if Florida wants to win this game, they have to establish the run early. They have to control the clock. And when they need to, Mertz is going to have to be efficient against a talented Tennessee defense. Personally, I think they do it, but what makes me lean towards the under is you have 2 talented rushing programs, as well as the new college football rules. That's what makes me lean towards the under. So that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, I love that play, actually. We're going to semi-sweep the board with Florida. I thought I'd be the only one on Florida. I'm going to take them +6.5. This is a game at Florida, and if it was a day game, not starting at 6 p.m. Central, I would be all over Tennessee. But it's not a day game. It's a night game. It's in the Swamp, and that place is going to be rocking for their biggest game of the season. They play against Georgia at home, but let's be honest with each other, guys. They're not going to beat Georgia. And then they play Florida State at home, which, again, probably not going to win that game. But this game, I can see them winning it. Tennessee is 2-0 in the season, but they haven't played anybody. They took Virginia in game 1 at home, but Virginia this season, we have already seen they're not that good. Then they didn't look very good against Austin Peay, who they should have dominated, but they only won by 17, only scoring 30 points. And all I hear about in Tennessee is Joe Milton being able to throw a ball 100 yards in the air, and he can throw an orange 150 yards. He might be able to throw it a long way, but I'm not seeing what everybody else is seeing with the talent. He threw for 200 yards against Virginia, but they didn't need him. I understand that game. But against Austin Peay, he completed 21 of 33 passes, 228 yards, and they only scored 30 points. And it wasn't all ground game either. They were split carries on the ground, 13 each for the running backs. They just couldn't get much going in the air. I'm looking for the Joe Milton that we saw against Clemson in the Orange Bowl last year. I haven't seen him yet. He's doing a good job of not turning the ball over, but this is too big of a number for a Florida team that's going to be very hyped up to play at home in the game that they need to win. I'm going to take Florida as well in the money line. I'm not overly impressed with Graham Mertz either. All I can see is him in Wisconsin handing the ball off and making bad throws, but this should not be a touchdown game on the spread. Florida can take this game. I'm going to take them +6.5, and I'm going to take them on the money line as my 2 plays. Guys, let's get into the dog of the week. Pull that up, Trey. We had 2 winners last week. Trey won, and then Josh, our guest picker, won as well. But let's look at these plays for this week. Trey, start us off.
Yeah, and I hit with Washington State. That one felt really good. Shout out Cameron Ward. But mine, it's going to be Fresno State versus Arizona State in this game. Seth, there's someone typing or clicking their fingers or something?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
It's okay. I'm fading Bears week 1 underdog that cashed for him, and I am backing a team that lost for Seth last week in Arizona State. So call me crazy, but I think that I like our odds with Arizona State in this game to win straight up. They are led by a dynamic true freshman quarterback named Jaden Rashada, and through 2 games, he's not been able to prove his legs, but he has been able to throw the ball really well. And with this being a home game for Arizona State, I think that there's a good chance that they take this game straight up. It is plus 3.5. It's on the money line at plus 140. So it's a nice little tasty treat there. So that's going to be my weekend dog of the weekend.
Yeah, my dog of the week, it's going to be South Alabama on the money line against Oklahoma State plus 260. South Alabama is the best team in the Sun Belt, in my opinion. Oklahoma State's a bottom-tier Big 12 team. I also think that South Alabama quarterback Carter Bradley is going to cause havoc today for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. In Week 1, Oklahoma State allowed 268 passing yards to Central Arkansas. That's an FCS program. Last year, Oklahoma State was 106 in pass defense, and this year they might even be worse. Oklahoma State also likes to run the ball, and that's the biggest strength in the South Alabama team, having a very good front four. Plus, Oklahoma State is running out 3 different quarterbacks to play, and that's going to cause your drives to stall. I hate when teams do that. How can you gain any chemistry with your quarterback if you're having a different quarterback on every play? Give me the Jaguars here on the money line. I think they win this game by 2 touchdowns. So that's going to be my dog of the week. Seth, who's your dog?
Yeah, and I'm going to go to the Ohio Bobcats. And I know Trey really loves the quarterback on Ohio and Curtis Rorick. I know they looked bad in their loss Week 1, but this was skewed due to the fact that Curtis Rorick did leave this game early. After their Week 1 loss, Ohio has gone on to beat LIU and Florida Atlantic. Rorick will be making his second start since being injured in Week 1. This game will be at home for them. I know Iowa State does have a pretty good defense, but this Ohio offense is sneaky, and I do think they can put up some points at home now that Curtis Rorick is healthy. What really makes me like this pick, though, is that the Iowa State offense is going through some turmoil, and they rank 123rd in the nation, averaging only 270 yards per game. The most underlooked thing about this Ohio team is their defense. This defense currently ranks 13th in the NCAA, allowing only 236.3 yards per game, and have only allowed their opponents to get into the end zone 4 times this season. This is a home game for Ohio. They have Curtis Rorick back healthy. This defense is buzzing. I like Ohio in this one.
I like that one as well. Noah, who's your dog?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the Florida Gators plus 7. So this is the first real test for Tennessee. I know we just got done talking about this game, but the first game of the year when Tennessee played Virginia started 3 of their first 6 possessions in Tennessee territory, and they went 3 and out 5 times out of those 6 drives. And Virginia kicker Will Bettridge also missed a 28-yard field goal, giving Virginia a total of 15 total yards until a couple minutes left in the first half. That's heard of from pretty much any football team on any level. 15 yards in the first half is you don't see that a lot. So Florida's offensive line is going to have to run block, but also give Graham Mertz time to find receivers, because I do believe the receivers will be open. He's been pressured a lot in the past few games, and it's going to be pretty difficult against a Tennessee defense that's very talented, but I think they can do it. Like I said whenever we were talking about this game, they're going to have to establish the run, and they're going to have to control the clock. And if they can establish the run with the talented running backs that they have, I think that's going to open the lanes for them to throw the ball. But if they want to win this game, they're going to have to, like I said, establish the run early. They're going to have to stop Tennessee's run, and more receivers are going to have to step up, because right now they really only have Ricky Parcel. That he's been the main receiver for this Florida Gators offense. But so more receivers are going to have to step up in this game if they want to cover this spread or even win this outright. But I could see it happening.
Yeah, I like that play as well. I've got Florida on the money line, so I love that pick as well. Let's move on to the parlay lock. We have hit 2 parlay locks in a row on Saturday, 1 on Sunday mornings on our live. We're going for 4 straight. I'm going to start off here. My parlay lock is going to be the Iowa Hawkeyes over their team total of 34.5 points against Western Michigan. I think now it's 36.5, which I'm perfectly fine with. So far, the Hawkeyes have scored 24 points and 20 points in the first 2 games. The offensive coordinator, Brian Ferentz, has a special rule in his contract where he will pick up an additional 2 years if the team scores 25 points per game, and they have to win 7 games in 2023. The 7 games should not be a problem for him, but the 25 points per game has already been an issue. They have not scored 25 points yet this season, so he's already behind the ball. The remaining schedule for the Hawkeyes after this game, they have Penn State, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Nebraska, Illinois, Northwestern, and Rutgers. From that list of teams, I can maybe guarantee they score 25 against one of those teams. That means today or tomorrow, depending on when you're watching this, when they play Western Michigan, they need to score 50-plus points. This is the perfect team to hang it on to because they allowed 17 to St. Francis in week 1, allowing 281 yards to the Red Flash. And then they followed that up by allowing 48 points and 500 total yards to Syracuse. This is it for the Hawkeyes program if they want to keep their offensive coordinator to continue to have a job. He is coaching for his job in this game. He's going to put up a ton of points. The Hawkeyes over their team total tomorrow will be my lock. Trey, who's your lock tomorrow?
Yeah, and I'm going to be fading Notre Dame here with my parlay lock. Give me Central Michigan to cover 35.5 points in this game. It's a ton of points, but the reason why I think they won't get completely blown out in this game, it's because Notre Dame, they play Ohio State next week. So this game just has trap game written all over it. They could get off to a pretty slow start, and 35 points is a lot of points. I mean, that's 5 touchdowns. I'm not saying it's going to be too close. Central Michigan just not going to get completely blown out in this game. So give me Emmanuel Burt in Central Michigan to leave their impact on this game and to not lose by 5 touchdowns.
Also a Maction team, so I love that play. Seth?
Yeah, we all covered this game and went in favor of it, but my lock is Penn State at minus 13.5. Like we said earlier, this Illinois team struggled to keep KU out of the end zone. They struggled to move the ball on KU's defense. Penn State's defense is way superior to KU's defense, and they're going to make things super difficult on Luke Altmaier and the Illinois offense. Penn State also has a super high-powered offense themselves and will put up plenty of points in this game. KU beat Illinois by 11 and probably should have won by more after underperforming a little in the second half. Give me Penn State here on an easy one. Penn State should win by 20 or more.
Yeah, we swept that play as well, so I like that one too. Noah, lock of the week.
Yeah, so for the lock of the week, I'm going with Washington minus 16.5. So last season we saw just how talented they were. They won 7 in a row, including when they went and beat Oregon on the road and they beat Texas in the Alamo Bowl. So they've proven they can play on the road, but the first real test comes this season against Michigan State. But right now, Washington's killing teams on the offensive side of the ball. They put up at least 43 points in both of their games, and they also rank 6th nationally in yards per game and 2nd in yards per play. The rushing game is below average, but that's why I like them minus 16.5. They're going to have to establish the run, but I don't think they're going to against Michigan State. So they're going to have to throw the ball. For Michigan State to keep this close, they're going to have to apply pressure on quarterback Michael Penix Jr. But I think Washington scores quick and they keep this game out of reach against a Michigan State team that's missing their head coach, Mel Tucker, for some not so YouTube-friendly reasons. But it's going to be interesting to see how Michigan State responds to that. But I don't see them responding very well, nor do I see them keeping it close. So I'm going with Washington minus 16.5.
Yeah, I love that play as well. 4 straight going for it, guys, on that parlay lock. So make sure you guys put that in. Guys, it's going to do it for our live show tonight. We appreciate all you guys who tuned in and watched. Make sure to catch our videos tomorrow. We have an MLB video and a college football video coming out for our plays on Saturday. Also, check out the website, bearsprofitplays.com. We have a lot of free plays up for grabs on that. And again, thank you, everybody, for being here. Noah, thank you for coming on to be our guest. And we will see you guys tomorrow in those videos. Have a good night, guys.